very conscious that how we perform and act in our devotional service must actually translate into our behavior, because that will attract more people to come to devotional service. In the beginning, people are attracted to come to devotional service not because they understand the science of devotional service, but very often because of the nature and the behavior of the devotees that we meet. Isn't it true? 90% of us probably came only because of two things. One was prasadam, which we have to admit is very important. But the deeper thing that kept us coming was actually the behavior of the devotees. If the devotees behaved in such an inspirational manner that they touched our hearts, then we would keep coming back. And that is what defines devotees. So this verse is a very practical verse because it gives us 5 characteristics of the devotees. And if these 5 characteristics are there, then Krishna declares in this verse, Anuvrajami aham nityam. I always follow that devotee wherever that devotee goes. And how wonderful it is that if the devotee has these qualities, he can be assured, she can be assured that Krishna is always behind him or her. That's a very powerful point actually. The first quality that is stated here is nirapeksha. And nirapeksha means without any personal desire. You will realize that nirapeksham and munim are 2 qualities that go together. Munim means always thinking of assisting me in my pastime. So, what is the connection between nirapeksham and munim? If we are constantly thinking of how to serve Krishna in his pastimes, or how to serve the devotees in them serving Krishna, then what happens is naturally, our personal desires, which normally take precedence, will actually go to the back. Because we are constantly trying to serve Krishna. So therefore, nirapeksham and munim are very related. They're like cousins. If you start your devotional service, if you have this habit in devotional service of making sure that our personal desires should never monopolize our devotional service, but rather Krishna's desires and the devotees' desires become more important, then that is a very good way to start and to grow in our devotional service. Otherwise, what happens is the same selfish tendencies that we have in the material world, we will carry as a material baggage into the spiritual world. Then what happens is it's always about me. It's about what I can get from the congregation. It's about why I was not treated well. It's about why no one spoke to me about something. It all goes back to me, me, me. But if you have personal desires, the personal desires should be channeled towards how we can assist Krishna. That is munim and that is nirapeksha. A very good example of that actually is the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very short but instructive pastime with Govinda. You remember in Chaitanya Leela, Govinda was always the personal servant of Mahaprabhu. And one time after they had nice Rathayatra and they had nice ecstatic kirtan, Mahaprabhu and the team had come to Srivas Thakur's house. And Mahaprabhu was very tired after having prasad. And so he lay down just, at the junction of the door leading into the room. Just where you are, just over there. So he lay down there. And so Govinda came and said that, Lord, I have to massage your feet because you're tired. That's my service. And Mahaprabhu said, yes, you can massage. But Govinda said, I have to cross over to this side to massage you. So Lord, please, could you move your legs? And we all know it is our etiquette that we don't cross over someone's legs because the body is the temple of the Lord. We don't do that. It's sadachar. So Govinda refused to move because he felt that if he did that, he would be offending the Lord. But the Lord said, I cannot move because I'm very tired. So either you move or you don't move. And so Govinda decided, let me cross over. Now when he crossed over, he sat down on this side and he started massaging Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. After a while, Mahaprabhu told him, you can stop now. It's all right. Now why don't you go and have some prasadam? And then later I will wake up. Now for him to have prasadam, he had to cross over. Right? So Mahaprabhu said, call me later, but you can cross over. Sometime later, Mahaprabhu woke up and he realized that Govinda was still seated at the same place he was. He had not moved. He was chanting and he was just meditating. So Mahaprabhu became a bit upset. He said, I told you to cross over. You should have crossed over. Why didn't you? And Chaitanya Leela says that Govinda did not answer the Lord, but he was silent. But then the Lord knew Govinda's heart and he became very pleased. And Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport very nicely that Govinda was prepared to go to hell because he had crossed over the Lord's lotus feet the first time. But he did that because of the mood of nirapeksha, because he did not have a personal desire to cross over. The desire to serve the Lord was more important. It didn't matter to him what happened after that. Like you remember when Krishna had a transcendental headache, so to speak, and everybody, all the great devotees were asked to give some dust from their lotus feet, and they thought, oh no, we will go to hell. And then when Narada Muni came to see the gopis started stomping all over the ground, isn't it? And they started gathering sands in large amounts with bags. And Narada said, why are you stomping the ground? They said, if it's a headache, he needs lots of that sand, isn't it? So we need to stamp around as much as possible so you can put it on his head. And Narada said, aren't you afraid that you're going to get into trouble because you will go to hell? And they said, it doesn't matter if we go to hell. But if Krishna's headache can go, isn't that better? This is nirapeksha. This is nirapeksha. So when you have nirapeksha like Govinda had, it's such a simple pastime. But if he had crossed over to have his prasadam, then that would have been because of his own palate, because of his own difficulties or his own needs. But his devotional service was so powerful that it was not important to him. What was more important was his personal need to serve the Lord's need. That is very important. An example opposite to nirapeksha is also actually in Krishna book. In Krishna book, there is a chapter, if you recall, when Krishna and Satyabhama had gone to kill Bhamasura. And after that, they had come back with Mother Aditi's earrings. They came to Swargaloka and they gave it to Indra. When Indra got Mother Aditi's earrings, he was very respectful of Krishna. And with his helmet on his head, he bowed to the Lord. But after that, as the Lord was leaving with Satyabhama, she saw the Parijata flower and tree. And she said, this Parijata flower and tree I really like. Krishna, can you get it for me? So Krishna thought, why not? I mean, she's done so much. She's my queen. It's my desire to serve her. So he took the Parijata tree. As he took it, to his surprise, Indra and a whole team of warriors had come down and said, no, you can't take it, Krishna. Parijata tree belongs to Swargaloka. We cannot allow you to take it. Now at that moment, right, Prabhupada writes in Krishna book something amazing. Prabhupada says that the behavior of Indra was not very palatable. And Sukadev Goswami in Bhagavatam writes that this behavior of Indra was not acceptable to the acharyas and devotees. Why? Prabhupada explains nicely. One moment Indra was ready to fall at the lotus feet of Krishna. Why? Because he got Aditi's earrings. So it was in self-interest that he was prepared to bow before Krishna, because he was getting something from Krishna. But the moment Krishna wanted to take something from him, then his personal desires and assets, they were threatened. And at that point of time, he decided, no, bowing before you was in the past, now I'm going to fight you. And Prabhupada writes there, that is demonic mentality. So as devotees, we will be tested in the junctions of our own spiritual lives. Sometimes we are very amenable to Krishna and the devotees, as long as certain things are within our self-interest. But there must be a time where even our self-interest must become secondary. Because the interest of Krishna, the interest of the congregation, the interest for a larger mission of Srila Prabhupada must become greater. So nirapeksha actually means that. It's one word, but it has so much of depth of meaning actually. That is nirapeksha. So when we have nirapeksha, munim comes automatically. Because then we're always trying to think about how to assist Krishna. What can we do to make people come to Krishna? Right? That's what we always keep thinking. And in that way, we think less of ourselves and more of Krishna. That doesn't mean that we cannot take care of our basic needs. Krishna is not so selfish that we should not be doing that. What is needed for body and soul, Krishna always provides. Remember, there's another point that Prabhupada makes in the purport of Chaitanya Leela, in the episode between Narada meeting the Hunter Mrigari. You all remember the Hunter Mrigari? The Hunter Mrigari was actually, preached to by Narada, and he became a very nice devotee. But the thing is, after he became a devotee, before he became a devotee, he was a terrible hunter. And Narada was trying to tell him that you should stop your hunting and killing, and the Lord will take care of you. And Mridari said, how will the Lord take care of me? That is my livelihood. If I stop, who is going to take care of me? And there Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the source of income is not the source of maintenance. Beautiful line, huh? I think we are all working, we should remember this. The source of income is not the source of maintenance. Then Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain it. He says, income you earn, but he maintains you. Very nice point. He says, you may earn all the income in the world, but who is maintaining you? It is not the income, it is Krishna. If the income were maintaining you, technically you should live forever as long as you are having income. Isn't it? That's the logical end to that argument. But the fact is, even with all the income in the world, if our health is not there or something doesn't work out, then we cannot be maintained. With all the money sitting in the bank, it is of no value. So Prabhupada makes a very important point, that the source of income is not the source of maintenance. That is nirapeksha and that is muni. So this is the point that is being given. These are the two. Now let's look at the third one. The third one is really nice. Shanta. This is another mood of a devotee that's really nice. And Shanta means one who is peaceful. And actually, we cannot be peaceful, if you think about it, until we get rid of these personal selfish desires. Isn't it true? Until we become munim, and until we become nirapeksha, it's very hard to be peaceful. If we are always running after the satisfaction of our personal desires, you find that very often we are very much filled with anxiety. There's a difference between material anxiety and spiritual anxiety. Material anxiety will take away your good health. But spiritual anxiety doesn't really affect us so much. And even if we get blood pressure because of spiritual anxiety, at least we die remembering Krishna. What is the problem? Isn't it? It is better rather than to die thinking of something that will not make us remember Krishna. Anyway, we have to die. So better to die to remember Krishna. That is the way of the devotee. So devotees are always shantam. Why? Because they are nirvairam. Nirvairam means they are not inimical to anyone. That's a very important point. There is a shloka, I think. Is it in 12:15? 12:15 of Bhagavad Gita. Yasman not vijate loko, loka not vijate chayaha. Right? Harsha marsha vayodrege mukte sachama me priyaha. That's 12:15 of Bhagavad Gita. Very beautiful verse and very practical. Krishna says one who is very dear to him is one who is yasman not vijate loko. One who does not become a source of disturbance to others, and one who does not create disturbance. Very important. So our duty as devotees is really not to create disturbance for others. Very, very important. It is such an important principle. If we really consider ourselves devotees, then ask ourselves, are we increasing other people's blood pressure? That's important. And it doesn't start in the congregation, Prabhus and Matajis. It starts at home. Very often we are very nice in the congregation programs. Isn't it true? In the congregation programs, we're all floating in the air. We're all in Vaikuntha. And every devotee says, oh, he's so nice, she's so nice. Then when you talk to the family members, they give you a different idea. Prabhu, wait till you come home. Then you see what kind of a, incarnation he or she has. So actually, that is another very important thing. That we should not only be not a source of disturbance to the devotees, but we should not be a source of disturbance to living entities. That is very important. We forget that everybody is potentially a devotee. Let's not forget that. It's so easy for us to forget that, isn't it? Nitya Krishna, we are all eternally servants of the Lord. We are. And Krishna Prem is eternally in our hearts. It's there. So every person is a potential devotee. It's just a question of time. It's this life, next life, but it will happen. So actually Krishna, there's no fun in us being nice to devotees. All of us have to be nice to devotees. The real fun is whether we're nice to the living entities. That's more difficult. It's very difficult. So actually, Nirapeksha Munim Shantam, right? Munim Shantam, to be peaceful means Nirvairam. Don't be inimical to others. You see, Prahlad Maharaj was not inimical to his father despite all the challenges he faced and all the harassment he faced from his father. Isn't it true? Nrsimhadev Chaturdasi is around the corner. We know the tolerance of Prahlad, how much he tolerated the challenges of Hiranyakashipu, and that too his father, member of his own family. But it didn't matter to him because he was compassionate, because he was not inimical. There was no envy in his heart. So that is very important. So those who are Nirvairam, they are automatically, those who are Nirapeksham, they are automatically Muni. So these two come together. And because they have both these qualities, they are very peaceful, Shantam. And if you are peaceful, you will not be inimical with others. What is the cousin of being inimical? It is envy. That's why in other parts of Bhagavatam, Nirvairam is also used to mean envy. Now, here it is used as inimical, but in other parts of Bhagavatam, the word Nirvairam is used to mean envy. In one shloka in the 4th canto, I think it's the 30th chapter, the prayers of the Prachetas, somewhere in the 20 or 22nd verse, I forget the verse, it is Yatra idyante katham ristas, Trishnayaha prasammo yataha, Nirvaira sarva bhuteshu, Nodvega yatra kaschana. So there it is nicely stated, Yatra idyante. Wherever discussions of Bhagavatam are, and that's exactly what's happening now. Wherever discussions of Bhagavatam are, the Prachetas say 3 things will happen to the audience. You can test it now, Prabhus and Matajis. You can. Yatra idyante katham business. Wherever discussions of Bhagavatams are happening, 3 things do not touch those who hear Bhagavatam. The first, Yatra idyante katham business, Trishnayaha prasammo yataha. Trishnaya means material hankerings. All of us in this material world, the great challenge we have is the challenge of the constant material hankerings that we have in the heart. Very often nothing is enough, isn't it? Right? No matter how much we say this is enough, it's okay. Those who are not married, they look at those who are married and say, how nice to be married. Those who are married will say, better where you are. It's okay, don't worry. Enjoy your days when you're not married. Those without children will look at those with children and say, how nice to have children. Those with children will say, enjoy the days before they come. Life is always like that. We will look at someone and say, they are having a wonderful time. They will look at us and say, no, you are having a wonderful time. In that way, I hanker for that which cannot be obtained. You hanker for that which cannot be obtained. And we continue this cycle of material hankering. That is material existence. And we're always hankering. Sometimes we come to Krishna consciousness, and what happens is our hankering has to go underground. It is there still, but if to the level and the sincerity of our Krishna consciousness, either it becomes quelled naturally, or sometimes it is artificially suppressed because we are afraid to show it. But it is still a challenge. It is still a challenge. If we are not careful, it can override us. Sometimes if we are not careful, even in devotional service, we may look for things like pran, pratishta, puja. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, sometimes we look for praise. Sometimes we look for adoration. Sometimes we want people to look at us very favorably. Sometimes we criticize others who do not do that. So these are subtle things that can happen if we are not careful in devotional service. So Trishnayaha prasammo yataha. Prasammo means to become satisfied. So Bhagavatam tells us that when you come to hear Bhagavatam sincerely, then whatever material hankerings you have in your heart, at least at the point when you're hearing Bhagavatam, you don't feel them. They are outside with your slippers, but they are not inside here. You don't have time to feel any hankering because you're absorbed in Bhagavatam. So that's the first thing. The second thing that happens to the members of the audience is Nirvaira Sarva Bhuteshu. Whatever envy that we have generally in our hearts, Bhagavatam tells us the envy is not present when we are hearing Bhagavatam together. If this was a social function or a marriage function, we'll all be looking at each other, right? Who's wearing what? Who's not wearing what? Not enough jewelry. new car and this and that. And very often if you go for these functions, you become disturbed. Because someone will pass you and say hello to someone, but he will ignore you. Right? All these things will happen. By the time you come home, you're very disturbed. But in these kind of programs, I'm looking at all of you for the past 20 minutes. No one is looking at anyone. Thankfully. Everybody is looking at the deities. Oh, okay, at least you're hearing me. You see the point? This is very important. It shows us the power of Bhagavatam. So even envy in the heart is quelled because of devotional service. And the third symptom that happens when devotees come to hear Bhagavatam is Nodvega Yatra Kaschana. Udvega means fear. Vega means fear. Udvega means deep fear. Na Udvega means no fear. So Nodvega Yatra Kaschana. Whatever fear that we have in our hearts, even that doesn't touch us when we are actually speaking or hearing Bhagavatam. In fact, sometimes people say, I'm not fearful of life. But we also tell them that even if you don't have fear, you have the cousin of fear, which is anxiety. Anxiety is always there. Some people say, I'm very brave. But no one can claim not to be anxious. Everyone is anxious. And just when you think you've finished something and your anxiety is over, something else is coming. And the anxiety comes again. It always happens. You plan, after all this is settled, I'm anxiety free. I'll become very Krishna conscious. It won't happen because the anxieties don't leave you. You have to become Krishna conscious amidst all the difficulties. That is life. You cannot sit and wait for the waves of the ocean to go and then jump in, isn't it? The waves will come, but you jump in anyway. This is the beauty of these 5 shlokas. That's why Nirvairam, this is the meaning of Nirvairam. Yatra idyante katham ristas. Trishnayaha prasammo yataha nirvairam sarva bhuteshu nodvega yatra kaschana. See how practical Bhagavatam is. If you take that one shloka I shared with you and you sit with any audience, you chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for 20 minutes, you speak a little bit practical on Shastra, even if they have nothing to do with God, they will understand that in that moment, these 3 things cannot touch them. Their faith in the movement will grow. This is the strength of Bhagavatam. It is so powerful. It is so practical. People in this world, they want to see us behave in a certain way before they become convinced to come. Because no one is unintelligent today. People are very careful because religions can cheat. And therefore it becomes the responsibility of each and every one of us as representatives of Srila Prabhupada to have the standard of behavior which Bhagavatam is asking. And that cannot happen artificially. It can only happen with good sadhana, good sadhu sangha, and sincere study of Srila Prabhupada's books. That is the only way. So Nirapeksha Munim Shantam, Nirvairam is to be without inimical. We are not inimical. And the last one here, Samadarshanam. Samadarshanam means equal consciousness everywhere. And this is the beauty of a devotee. A devotee is equipoised even with a difficult person or a very saintly person. Prahlad Maharaj was a great example again. He was wonderful to all his classmates, even though they were not Krishna conscious. He was really a Krishna conscious devotee even with his father. Even when Hiranyakashipu was anything but Krishna conscious, it did not matter to him. For him, he was who he was wherever he was. This is the mood of a devotee. And in this mood, a devotee is loved by everyone. Not just devotees, but the whole community of living entities. This is the mood of Samadarshana. And if we have these 5 qualities, then Bhagavatam tells us what happens. See, whenever you read all these shlokas, one secret you will find. In all these shlokas, the first 2 lines will put forward, right, what you must do. The next 3rd and 4th lines will tell you what happens when you do what you have to do. You follow this formula and studying Bhagavatam becomes very simple. The first 2 lines always tell us a proposition. The next 3rd and 4th lines, they will tell us the effect of that proposition. Like you look at the Chatushloka Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo martaha sarvam pravartate. Then iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samagritaha. So first Krishna declares what he is. I am the source of all material, spiritual worlds, everything emanates from me. Then he says, those who, you see, so the first two things tell us what Krishna does. Now after that, so what? Now the result of who I am is, if you follow, those who follow this path, what happens to them? Buddha Samandita. So then you see, the effect of what we understand of who is Krishna becomes available to us. So it's very easy. So in this also, it's very simple now. There are 5 qualities. And if these 5 qualities can be understood, the effect of it is Anuvrajami Aham Nityam. Krishna will follow in the footsteps of these devotees. And so nicely it is stated in the purport that actually Krishna is always following the devotees because the devotees are always giving their lives to Krishna. Isn't it true? That's the beauty of it. You know, in the best way to understand this point is actually in the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj. You all know Ambarish Maharaj in the 9th canto. We understand Ambarish Maharaj was devotee par excellence. Meaning to say that even though he was fully in this material world, so to speak, as the emperor of the whole world, he wasn't a sadhu sitting in a cave. He was dealing with much more than all of us combined can actually deal with. And yet Bhagavatam says that he utilized every part of his body and all his mind and senses in the devotion to the Lord. Isn't it? Savai Manaha Krishna Padaravindo. That whole series of shlokas. With his mind he was offering to Krishna. With his mouth he was speaking about Krishna. With his hands he was cleaning Krishna's. With his legs he was walking to Krishna. Right? With his body he was touching the ground where Krishna was. With his eyes he was seeing the beautiful form of Krishna. With his ears he was hearing about Krishna. With his nose he was smelling that which was offered to Krishna. So it's all there. But the beauty is, Ambarish Maharaj was not only a great devotee. When he was tested, he showed all these qualities of Nirapeksha Munim Shantam Nirvairam Samadarshana. Because when he was about to break his fast, if you recall, he and his wife, Durvasa Muni came. And we all know Durvasa Muni has quite a temper, isn't it? Right? To put it mildly. He's quite a hot-tempered and very, very volatile personality. So when he came, Ambarish Maharaj was very calm. He welcomed him very nicely. And he sat him down and told him, I'm just about to break fast. Why don't you break fast with me? And so Durvasa said, I'll break fast with you, but I need to go and wash up. And he had many disciples with him, so they all went to the banks and they started washing up. But apparently his washing up took quite a long time because he was not coming back, and the time of the fast was fast approaching. So Ambarish Maharaj was told by the Brahmanas that if you break the time of the fast, then it's not good. But if you break fast now, then Durvasa Muni's temper will rise. So what is going to happen? So then Ambarish Maharaj decided, let me break fast by taking water. Because water is neither here nor there. It is breaking fast, but it's not completely considered that. It's one of those areas where you can sit on the fence and get away with it, so to speak. And so Ambarish Maharaj decided, let me take a sip. He took a sip, and then later Durvasa Muni came. Now Durvasa Muni is a yogi. He's also a Muni, very powerful. From his yogic powers, he could already know that, Ambarish Maharaj had broken his fast. So he became very rude, In Bhagavatam, if you read, he used very harsh language. He said, what kind of a king is he? He is no better than an impostor. He is very cruel and doesn't know how to treat his guests very well. Actually, in Bhagavatam, you find a lot of harsh words being used sometimes against devotees. Very powerful. Another time when it was very powerful was Duryodhan, when he spoke about Vidura. Duryodhan said, this Vidura is nothing more than a son of a cat mistress. You should throw him out of this kingdom, right? Beat him until he has only a breath left, and then throw him out of the kingdom. So in the same way, Ambarish Maharaj was scolded and chastised by Durvasa. And Durvasa said, for this offense that he has done to me, I will ensure he gets the correct punishment. So from the locks of his matted locks, he took out hair, he shouted the mantras, and a very powerful demonic figure came. And he was so powerful, Bhagavatam said, that his eyes were like molten copper, his hair was like fire, and it was very big, and it was rushing towards Ambrish Maharaj. The beauty is, Ambrish Maharaj's demeanor was amazing, Bhagavatam says. He was completely shantam. He didn't move. He did not even pray, Krishna, please save me. He didn't do that. I mean, the usual tendency, at least, is like what Arjuna did when the Brahmashtra was coming, right? Krishna, Krishna, Mahabhaho, Bhaktanam Abhayankaraha, Tvameko Dhayyamananam, Apavargosi Samstritehe, right? That would be what we would have. But Ambrish Maharaj was on a different level altogether. And yet, what people didn't realize was, before this, because of Ambrish Maharaj's 10% bhakti, Krishna had parked Sudarshan Chakra in Ambrish Maharaj's kingdom. Imagine, huh? Sudarshan Chakra was not moving with Krishna. He parked Sudarshan Chakra in the kingdom of Ambrish Maharaj. That was the kind of love that Krishna had for his devotee. So Ambrish Maharaj didn't fear at all. He was very peaceful. And he did not even pray, please protect me, nothing. He didn't run, nothing. He just stood there. And the moment the Lord saw that this devotee is so surrendered to me, the Lord immediately summoned Sudarshan Chakra, which was not very far because it was in the kingdom, and told him, I think you should take over. And so Sudarshan Chakra came very powerfully, and within moments he had swallowed up the demon, and Sudarshan Chakra went after the creator of the demon, who was none other than Durvasa Muni. When Durvasa Muni saw the Sudarshan Chakra coming, he realized now that things were becoming very difficult. So he decided, let me run. He ran through the whole of this world. Right? He went through the caves, he went into the ocean, but Sudarshan Chakra had, it was like a GPS. It's not going to let go. It just followed him. Then he decided, let me go and see Brahma. After all, Brahma is my father, he should help me. So he went to see Brahma and said, please get Sudarshan Chakra off my back. Brahma said, I can't interfere. Sudarshan Chakra is beyond my pay grade, so to speak. Better you go and see Lord Shiva. So he went to see Shiva. Now, if Brahma is his father, Shiva is like his brother. So he thought, my brother should be able to help me. And Lord Shiva said, Sudarshan Chakra is very powerful, and it is in the domain of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. I cannot help you. And so he ran to Vaikuntha upon the advice of Lord Shiva. Now he reached the gates of Vaikuntha. He didn't enter Vaikuntha, but he reached Vaikuntha, and from there he called out to the Lord, Vishnu. And the Lord saw him. And when the Lord saw him, the Lord decided to tell him something. He said, you don't realize how great the devotees of the Lord are to me. Aham bhakta paradino, hi asvatantra ivadvija, sadhu vigrista hridayo, bhakta bhakta janapriyaha. In the 9th canto, 4th shloka, 63rd verse, 9463, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord tells the greatness of his devotees. He says that, do you not know, Durvasa, that actually I'm not independent. People think I'm independent. Actually, Krishna is very independent. Huh? In the 1st canto, 1st shloka, 1st chapter, Krishna is known as Swarat. Swarat means completely independent. But the interesting thing is, in 9.4.63, Krishna changes his mind. Krishna says, I've got news for you. Yes, I am Swarat, but I'm fully dependent on my devotees. And why am I fully dependent on the devotees? Because these devotees have given up their lives, their families, their time. They have given everything to me. And because they have given everything to me, they have become as dear to me as I have become dear to them. And then he says, Bhaktai Bhakta Jana Priyaha. What to speak of my devotees? Even the devotees of my devotees are very dear to me. That is our window, Prabhu and Mataji. That's our window. We may not be devotees of the Lord, but we can become devotees of the devotees of the Lord. Isn't it? We can. In Ramayana, if you recall, Vibhishana, right, had advised Ravana, don't continue doing this. And Ravana said, get out. And so he left. Before he left, he asked one question. Anybody here would like to follow me? Only 4 Akshashas decided to follow him. So they crossed over to the mainland in the middle of the night, and they were stopped by Sugriva, Angada and Hanuman. There was a lot of questioning and interrogation. because they were convinced that Vibhishana was coming as a spy. After hours and hours and hours, what happened? Finally, Lord Ram came and said, "What is all this commotion? What are you doing? Oh, this is Vibhishana, and we think he's a spy." And at that point of time, Lord Ram cleared the issue. He went to Vibhishana and he embraced him. And then everyone knew everything was fine. Now, just when Vibhishana was being brought in by Lord Ram, the 4 Rakshasas who had been waiting patiently, they started walking. And Angada stopped them and said, "Where are you 4 going?" And they said, "Oh, we're actually with Vibhishana." And the moment they heard that, oh, they are with Vibhishana, without even questioning them, Angada just let them go through. Bhaktaye Bhakta Janapriyaha. In fact, the devotee had more interrogation than the devotees of the devotee. This is the mercy of Krishna. So actually, Ambarish Maharaj was so powerful a devotee that Krishna is telling Durvasa Muni that actually I am completely dependent on devotees like Ambarish. And finally, he told him, my lesson to you is, I cannot revoke Sudarshan Chakra. I got news for you. You have to go back to him to revoke it. If only Durvasa Muni had understood the principle of the greatness of devotees, he wouldn't have spent 1 year touring the world, isn't it? If you think about it, right? He would have saved that 1 year serving the devotee. Sometimes we forget, that we have great devotees amongst us. The problem sometimes in congregations is we get to know each other so long that we forget each other's greatness. Then when someone like me flies in, you think I'm very great. But actually amongst you all, there are gems. But sometimes we don't have the vision to see it because we've got used to it. So Durvasa Muni couldn't see the diamond that was in front of him because he was not seeing it with the right sight. So we have to always watch our lenses when we see the devotees. Never take devotees for granted. Never. Never think that they are here and they will always be here. We should value them every time we meet them. That gratitude will really please Krishna. It will really please Krishna. And so Durvasa came all the way back to see Ambarish Maharaj and fell at his feet. And a true measure of Ambarish Maharaj's greatness is when he fell at his feet, Ambarish Maharaj became embarrassed. Bhagavatam says he became embarrassed. And he also bowed down and he said, "Please don't bow down." He picked up Durvasa Muni and he embraced him. And he embraced him. And Durvasa Muni said something that I will state now before we end today. He said, "Today, my dear Ambarish Maharaj, I have realized the value and greatness of devotees." Why? In one line, he sums up everything that we're speaking today in this verse. He said, "Even though I meant ill for you, you meant good for me. I did not mean well for you, but you meant everything that was good for me." This is the greatness of devotees. And we can only do that if we have Nirapeksha, if we have Munim Shantam, and if we have Nirvairam and Samadarshana. In all these 5 qualities, Ambarish Maharaj had all of them. He had no personal desire, only to serve Krishna. He became a king, but he was an instrument in the hands of the Lord. He was Munim, always thinking, how can I improve my Krishna consciousness and how I can assist the Lord. He was Shantam, very peaceful. Even when the great calamity of Durvasa was happening, he was still fixed with Krishna. And then 4th, he had no envy in his heart. In fact, he prayed to Sudarshan Chakra and said, "Sudarshan Chakra, please stop chasing Durvasa Muni. If you think that I have some bhakti in me, please stop." That was his prayer. And Sudarshan Chakra stopped. And finally, he was Samadarshana. He was equipoised in good times. He was equipoised in bad times. This is Krishna consciousness. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanand. Thank you for your time. Indresh Prabhu. Is Indresh Prabhu?
Yeah, Indresh Prabhu is there, I can see.
Nice to see you, Prabhu. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You took us deep into the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I think all the devotees must have realized how expert Devaki Prabhu is in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, I also would like to thank you to devotees who have come from different parts of North America. General Vishwesh Prabhu has come from Minneapolis to attend Devaki Prabhu's program. Uday Prabhu also has come from Minneapolis. Rasika Bhubi Prabhu and Pitha Mataji, they have come from Detroit. Pawan has come from Ottawa to see Devaki Prabhu. Thank you very much.
I come from Sri Lanka long time ago, waiting for him.
Thank you, Sadhguru.
Krishna.
We cannot forget your service, Prabhu.
No,
You know,
no.
Prabhu,
I have seen, I recognize him immediately. He's done so
he
much
does
service.
record so many video posts, so many videos on all GTA, all the programs. Even beyond GTO, he goes and travels and he records all the videos of all the programs.
And you look exactly as the way I saw you many years ago.
Yeah, he's always just like this.
No, Prabhu, same.
He hasn't gained any weight.
No, maybe I am same. Prabhu younger than before.
Yeah, that is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, now we will do the offering, and in the meantime, Prabhuji will do Kirtan, and maybe after 10 minutes we will do Maharati. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So we chant Krishna's names.
Oh, recently, so Janmashtami, we have so many nice tunes.